Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today I want to give you a little peek behind the curtain into the realm of fake conservatives and gatekeepers in Germany. Of course, if you are up to date with things in Germany anyway, you might have heard about these groups already, but maybe there is still something new or some different aspect here in this video for you nevertheless. I will try to explain the situation the way I see it using a recent example involving the new leader of the CDU, relatively new, Friedrich Merz. I talked about Mr. Merz in previous videos or, well, a couple of years ago. If you haven't checked those out, you can do that. He is a prominent member of the group Atlantikbrücke, a transatlantic club that was founded after World War II by the winners. No, not the Americans, the real winners. And he also worked for BlackRock. I think that is pretty much enough to characterize this guy. If you want to know more, as I said, check out my older videos on the Atlantikbrücke and Mr. Merz. But who are these groups that I'm talking about here? I'm talking pretty much about the entire Republican Party in the US, the people who are always talking about lower taxes and about freedom of speech and cancel culture goes too far and our republic and our democracy and all these things. So this is all nice and well. I'm not saying that these are not values that are worthy of protection and to conserve these values. No, but at the same time, these groups are gatekeeping and not extending this important freedom of speech to groups that raise questions that are vital to the survival of European people, for example. Yeah, these civic nationalists and these Turning Point USA groups and all these people, not only are they excluding these groups from debate, no, they're calling them criminals and dangerous extremists, and they want the tools of cancel culture and of oppression through and by the state to be used against these groups that are asking the question, hey, are there still gonna be Europeans in Europe in 100 years? So, and as I said, in today's video, I want to look a little bit behind the curtain and also tell you how these things are in Germany, and I think it is the very same in Germany as it is in the US. We have the same pundits, the same groups, these AstroTurf groups, and this is because Germany is basically a bridgehead, a foothold of the United States in Europe. You could say that Germany is the branch office of the United States in Europe. It is the European country that is by far the most dominated and influenced by the US. And this is why all this stuff is just replicated one by one here in Germany, as I will show you now. So there is an organization, a conservative think tank. It is called The Republic, and despite its English name, it is a German organization, and they have a nice website with nice colored pictures and young women who are writing columns there. So it is supposed to look like a youthful organization or something, and these university students who fight for freedom of speech on campus and for freedom and free markets and all that stuff, but it's of course all astroturfed, it's all fake. You might think of this as Turning Point USA in a much smaller, much more unprofessional little German version. Somebody just thought, hey, we need the same thing in Germany. And this fake gatekeeping group, the Republic, they organized a transatlantic forum in Germany, in Baden-Württemberg actually. And this is where all these fake conservative gatekeepers would have met and discussed vital ideas about our future. I think Lindsey Graham would also have come. And from the German side, it would have been Mr. Broder, a very German guy, the most German. He's the face of German conservatism, just like Ben Shapiro is the face of US American conservatism, of course. And Mr. Broder is as German as Ben Shapiro is American. And at this meeting, the Transatlantic Forum, Mr. Merz wanted to meet and talk to Mr. Lindsey Graham also. However, then Mr. Merz came under pressure from left-wing Germans like the Commie Party and other people that nobody with their political natural instincts and their compass intact, would go to such a meeting where these vile right-wingers are meeting and these pro-Trump people. And then Mr. Merz, he cancelled himself. He cancelled his appearance at this meeting. But he stated that he still will meet Lindsey Graham. That plan doesn't change. He doesn't go to this evil right-winger meeting anymore, but Mr. Graham, he still wants to meet. And then Lindsey Graham said, well, Mr. Merz, if you don't come to this transatlantic meeting, I'm not meeting with you. So let's analyze what was going on here. So first, Mr. Merz goes on tirade after tirade about how cancel culture is the worst thing for our democracy, and it came from the US, and it is threatening us, and it is spawning these young, intolerant leftists at the universities, and we must do something against that. Freedom of speech is so important. And then he cancels himself basically by giving in to a little bit of pressure from some far leftists who say that this transatlantic meeting and the think tank, the Republic, and these Americans that will come there, they are evil Trumpists and right-wingers. So then Mr. Merz, despite of being so convinced of freedom of speech and talking to people, he basically cancels himself and disavows. But he still wants to feel important by meeting a powerful man, Lindsey Graham, from the United States, but that doesn't work anymore, because even for a fake conservative and a fake nationalist like Mr. Graham, Mr. Merz is maybe a little too fake. So see, there are layers of fakeness. Mr. Merz's fakery is going even too far for a fake US conservative. So what do we make of this? In my opinion, there are things that are unclear and there are things that are very clear. What is unclear to me is, and I'm fully honest here, if these people are just acting in their personal interest, they're just looking, where can I score some points and what can I get away with? And maybe in the US you can get away with being pro-Trump in the Republican Party, but in Germany you cannot get away with being pro-Trump and meeting with pro-Trump people. And that's the problem for Mr. Merz right now. In Germany, he just can't politically get away with that. It would damage his reputation too much, so he did something that is very bad for him actually. He had to do some damage repair here. He knew probably that that would make him look like a hypocrite and very weak, but it was still better than meeting with a pro-Trumper and the left in Germany making a big deal out of it. So this whole disavowal game had to be played here, in Mr. Merz's view at least. And so once again, I do not know if all these groups and organizations and people, they're just grifters, or if they actually have been put in place to do exactly that. My personal opinion is yes, but well, I have no way of proving that. I don't have intelligence or inside information. I'm just a guy who reads the newspaper, but I personally believe that they were put there intentionally, and their life's job in politics is to be the gatekeeper. And how do they become that? Well, it's very simple. Just look at who these left-wing groups in America and in Germany, the media and all these ethnic, exotic organizations, especially in the US, who do they attack? Who do they demonize and vilify? It is these gatekeepers. The people who ask the really important questions, they don't even talk about them. You will not, at least not very often, read their names in the newspaper. They try to unperson them, to vaporize them. But the gatekeepers, they are attacked on a daily basis. And this is a little bit like 1984, where they give you these characters as enemies of the state with the 2 minutes of hate that they really focus their propaganda on, but they're not maybe real, or at least the picture that they're presenting is not real. Of course, Mr. Merz is a real person, but he is not the far-right conservative and the nationalist and traditionalist that the left says he is. He is not even a real capitalist. He's very rich, but that is because he is connected to the CDU, and that's why he was given a lot of lucrative jobs on boards where he didn't really have to do anything. He made millions not really doing anything. So he is not that active, savvy entrepreneur. No, he is just profiting off of his prominent position in a big political mainstream globalist party. So once again, the mainstream, the leftist, globalists, they are focusing their hatred and on a daily basis, by the way, through mass media on these gatekeepers. And this is how the conservative-minded normie population out there, how they get the idea that they would be their saviors. And the same is true for Mr. Henrik Broder. Like, he's writing these columns and these commentaries in newspapers, and he's attacked by a lot of groups on the left. And then the normie readers think, oh, Mr. Broder, oh, that's a good guy. If we had more people like him, Germany would be a better place. Mr. Broder for chancellor and all this stuff, right? But Mr. Broder is not raising the actual questions, and I don't ask him to because he is not one of us. Why would he care about our survival? He is not one of us. Mr. Merz, however, is a German. He is technically one of our tribe, but he also doesn't ask these vital questions, and he's going up against anybody who dares doing that, and that is the gatekeeping function. So the left mainstream makes sure that he is this beacon of free speech and low taxes and conservatism and family values for the normies out there, and then their newly established messiah figure tells them that, oh, these are dirty people, don't talk to these people, never listen to these people, they're dangerous. And that's how the control of the globalists, of the winners, the actual winners of World War II, is exercised, is enforced throughout Germany and on the German population. And now I want to say one last thing before I conclude this, and that is priorities, healthy priorities. Of course, free markets, yeah, I'm very pro free market, I like the free market, and I also like freedom of speech, etc. But it is a little bit like arranging or rearranging deck chairs on the sinking Titanic. I really don't care about freedom or open debates in a society where my people are not a major group anymore. I want a Germany with a German territory and a strong German majority population. And if we don't have that, if Germans become extinct or driven out or whatever, as many other cultures and civilizations and tribes before us, then, well, I don't really care. I also don't care if there is free speech in Bangladesh. I mean, it would be probably nice for the people there, but it's not really affecting me. So free markets and free speech without my people are, well, not pointless, because I still have to live in that society, but it is clearly secondary in importance to the survival and prosperity of my people. Alright, so I hope I could shed a little bit of light on what is going on and, well, give you my opinion when it comes to these gatekeeping fake conservative groups. And I used the very illuminating example here of Mr. Merz first getting under a little bit of pressure by some lefties and then canceling himself, and then being also rejected the opportunity to talk to Mr. Graham and get a little bit the sense of importance by talking to such a powerful man from the United States. So I think this incident, or this chain of incidents, showed nicely that Mr. Merz is really not concerned with free speech. He doesn't care about cancel culture, and this is all fake, and he knows that these center-right normies in Germany who also applaud Mr. Broder for his courageous columns, this is just what they want to hear. And I don't know if he's a grifter or if he is a gatekeeper, or maybe both, or if he's even aware of what he's doing, or if he's just told what to do. I don't know this. I would be lying if I claimed that I knew that, but it doesn't matter in the end. The function that these people play in such a, well, to be fair, very efficient and very effective role, that is really what matters to us and our cause. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Servus, Kameraden!